But this is nice.
It's fun.
She'll take it. You take it.
Okay, so we are. I'm going to give you a cheat sheet.
Why,
to
we're
God?
taking a test because I don't like tests.
Yeah.
The cheat sheet is
I give you all a cheat
He
sheet.
can't cheat God.
What he's gonna. You don't have it in these copies unless you have the book.
It's a clip note.
So I'm gonna give you a cheat sheet.
It's not cheat sheet.
So we'll be
it's
able.
clip note.
Okay, clip note, cheat sheet, whatever.
It's been a long time.
So you'll be able to.
Where's Elliot?
I need a lot. So you'll be able to understand what he's going to say. You'll be able to do this a little quicker because
He got one. Here's your cheat sheet.
I have one. Okay, so we took a little break. I'm sorry, whatever, and because try to accomplish this. We're holding on page.
Oh, I remember.
Page 4, benefit and trust.
I think. Yeah, that's correct. That's you're right. Only on page number 4. Page number 4. So this is actually all his introduction to the aspect of trust. That's why I really want to roll through this, and you have his 10 concepts in front of you, so it'll be easy for you to see as we go through his 10 concepts in the in what you're going to gain out of learning the book. So we haven't yet got to the book, so. That's why I really want to go through this so we can go into the book itself, into his. But every introduction is good, so we'll start. We'll go to his analogy. He gives an analogy, the way a person can learn from his situation, even the way the world runs. And he gives an analogy from the alchemist. It's a guy who transforms. I went to Google to get the definition. So a guy who transforms metals, certain metals, into gold and into silver. It didn't work. But it seems like in his time it was a very lucrative job. If you were alchemist,
They could take silver and turn it into gold.
Well, it seems like in those days, it was a very. But in those days, it's in medieval times.
Yeah.
It was a very lucrative job. That means if you had that job, you were very secure in your life.
Yeah, I guess so.
Until they discovered your fakery.
Like Bitcoin. You had people believe
Okay, whatever. I don't know exactly what it meant. Whatever. But he gives this analogy because he wrote the book for his time, and whatever. I don't know what would be a lucrative job today. Is there any such thing as a lucrative job today? What is something that you can be sure? It's very rabbinical. Rabbi always can be fired. I don't know. Whatever.
There's still people who believe in that so-called science, and so there's a sucker born every minute.
Okay, so he gives this analogy, and he. It seems, as I said, if you could find something today that you feel that would be a secure job, the best job today is to work for government, because that's a government job is the best job.
They can't fire you.
Fire you, whatever. So here we're trying to create, we're trying to invest in ourselves, to be able to have bitachon, to be able to have trust, and that's really what the book is about, the gate of trust. To be able to inspire ourselves to have trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So you have to be able to do that. It has to go through the seichel. It has to go through the mind, because you can't just tell a person to have trust. It's not an easy thing to tell somebody to have trust. A person to have trust, a person to have faith and trust, especially trust, he needs to come from himself. It needs to resonate in himself. Because as he goes through life and he goes through certain difficulties in life, it's even harder to have trust in God. It's even harder to have faith and trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So a person to ultimately have trust in God takes a person to think about this and to try to, if this analogy gives you the best analogies, and come up with your own analogy that you can come up with. You have to imagine in your mind the difference between trust in the aspect that you feel in the world you cannot trust in, whatever it might be, and then to look in the past. And that's why I believe he brings a lot of psukim. We all learn Torah, we all learn Tanakh, Chumash, and the prophets. We all have gone through the stories. And these stories are not, the Torah doesn't tell you stories, to tell you wonderful stories about the Jews in the desert, that we are coming to completion of the whole Torah. We read this Chumash already a couple times already, most of us, and we have the stories of the desert. You know, the Tzemach Tzedek, and this is one analogy he actually gives. Tzemach Tzedek, one of the biggest struggles of human life is parnasa, is to make a living. And the truth is, a lot of things come about when there's a struggle in parnasa. You have shalom bayis problems, you have other issues in life. Parnasa is a very important aspect of his life. That's why money is called chaya nafshe. Mentioned, the Alter Rebbe mentions it in Tanya, that money, tzedakah, giving money, whatever the amount of money is called chaya nafshe. It's called the life of his soul. So the Eibishter made, God made, that money would be an integral part of a human being's life, his parnasa. The way he makes a living, especially in a family, to be able to support his family, to be able to make happy his wife, whatever it might be. It's not an easy thing to do, and it creates a lot of havoc. It creates a lot of uncertainty, it creates a lot of tension, it creates anxiety. It creates a lot of things in the aspect of one's money, where your person makes his parnasa. So the Tzemach Tzedek said, really a Jew has to believe that his parnasa is man min hashamayim.
Yep, absolutely.
When the Eibishter gave man in heaven for the Jews 40 years, that was their parnasa, that was their life, that's what they ate. So right, they were given man min hashamayim. 40 years, not a week, not a day. 40 years they were given man min hashamayim, bread from heaven, and that's what they lived on. They lived they drank of a rock that ran with them, the stone, the water of Miriam. So it was man min hashamayim. It was given from heaven. It's a very difficult thing to comprehend. That your parnasa today is man min hashamayim. It comes from the heaven. But if a person listens to the stories of the Torah, he read the Parsha, he reads the stories of the Torah, and he comprehends man min hashamayim, what means breath from heaven, and what means that it came from heaven. It doesn't come per se only through the work of your hand. It comes birchas Hashem ita'asher, the wealth, that the blessing of God makes a person wealthy. He would have more bitachon, he would have more faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He wouldn't have trust in his own self. I'll say the famous story of Rab Zusha. I said the story many times. Rab Zusha was a chassid of the Alter Rebbe, and he of the Mitzvah. I'm sorry. So it was a colleague of the Alter Rebbe. So he was a great chassid of the Mitzvah Magid. And was very poor, extremely poor person. And he had a brother, Zusha Melech. Melech was his brother, was a very wealthy Jew. And one came to visit his brother, Zusha, and he came to the house, and his sister-in-law welcomed him in to the house. He said, "Where's Zusha? Where's Zusha? Zusha is in the shul. He's sitting and learning." And she welcomed him in. She said, "I'm sure you're hungry." And she sent the children away, and she sat him down, and she fed him food, and from behind they hear the children saying, "Oh, our uncle Melech is stealing our food. He's eating our food."
Rats.
We're not going to eat food. The guy's eating up our food, our dinner. So he turned around, he realized that this was their dinner. Right? And he saw his sister-in-law. She was crying. You know, she also heard, and she was very sad. So he said, I gotta find your husband. I gotta go find your Rab Zusha." So he ran to shul, He comes to shul, Abzusha's in shul, he's happy. Turns to him, he says, Abzusha, you know, your wife at home is and you're sitting here, you're happy. So he says, listen, I trust in the Eibusha, and she trusts in me. Don't try
It's
this.
like you want-
Don't try this at home. I trust in the Eibusha, and she trusts in me, so that's why I'm happy. And she trusts in me. She married me, and she trusts I'm gonna give her a thing, and that's why she's crying and she's sad. And I don't blame
like the
her.
wine
But you have to trust it. If you have trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He said you'll be able to overcome these anxieties, as he says. As he says, one of the greatest things of trust in God is to overcome your anxiety, not to have any anxiety, not to have any pressures. Okay, so let's roll. Umehem, amongst the Torah benefits of betachon. So he's going to tell you 10 benefits, as you can see your cheat sheet.
Okay.
That there are 10 benefits of betachon. 10 benefits. Ready?
Yeah.
Let's roll. Shabbateya b'lekim, what person who trusts in God, Yeviyeu b'tchayna lifnei salim elam ayman elam. A person that trusts in God will turn his heart from preoccupation of worldly matters. Even though he has to work with the room, he has to make a parnasa, he has to make a living, he has to go out to, but it's a secondary issue. It's only a means to an end. It's what he has to do. We have to do. The famous Gemara, Hillel would say, when he would have to go eat, he said, I have to go do a favor to my body. I got to now go do a favor to my body. Right? I'm sitting and learning. I came to the world to sit and learn Torah, but I have a body. And God gave me a body, so I got to do it a favor. So let's go and do a favor to the guf. And we'll go and we'll have lunch. So, why? Because the focus is on what you came to the world for. So whatever your focus is, a Yid's focus, he has a neshama. What he came to the world for is his soul. He has to make a living. That's what he needs to do to be able that his focus, his mission in life should be accomplished. So therefore, materialism would be secondary. Instead, he dedicate himself to matters of divine service. That's it, because that's what he came to the world for. You say it every day, every morning when you wake up in the morning. You say, I thank God that God gave me back my neshama. That's really the purpose that I came to this world for my neshama. And if not for my neshama, there's no other purpose in the world. Today, actually, we forgot to say, we're learning in memory of Shmuel ben Yaakov, the neshama of Shmuel ben Yaakov, your father. Hello. Your father, your soul. Hello. Today's the yahrzeit. You told me today's the yahrzeit of your father.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
We're going to learn in his honor, Shmuel ben Yaakov, okay?
Thank you.
So that's what the neshama is an important thing. So that's the focus of a person. So if that's the focus, then, I just mentioned on Shabbos here, I was for bringing, I went to I'm not going to mention the name, but I went to a person's house. It was a shiva in Miami, and I went to this Jew's house. And the guy, this Yid, shliach in Miami, and he's like living. His house is like living in 1960.
Okay.
He's living in 1960.
That's nice.
That's nice. Vintage.
It's like he hasn't changed his home since he moved into it.
Oh, I'd love to get there and buy it.
Same furniture, the same floors,
You have plastic
the
on the
same
couch?
kitchen, no plastic on the couch.
Oh my God.
Yellow.
I mean, unbelievable. A Yid, unbelievable, and he has beautiful children, and some of them are very wealthy, but he doesn't want it.
Yeah.
He doesn't want it. The guy, this Yid, lives like came to this Jew, and I said, this is an example. What means a person that could have everything. I'm sure his children wanted to give him everything, but he doesn't want it. He doesn't not interested in it. In fact, he's not interested.
And his wife.
He doesn't, and his wife is a great tzaddikus, but she's in the Gan Eden already.
Oh.
But truth is, it's both of them. It's both of them. It shows beauty on both of them. It's not only shows the beauty on him; it shows the beauty on her too. I'm not taking away her credit. But you have people, and you can see that. I said everybody should go through this house. So what means to be able to have whatever you want and be given whatever you want, but to basically not want it, not need it, not need it. It's not needed. You can want. My mother would say, "It's not what you want, it's what you need."
Yeah.
It's not what you, it's not what you want, it's what you need. You don't need it. Is it needed? It's not
Rabbi,
needed.
when I paid the shiva call to the Rebbe,
Right, the same thing.
I
So
went through his house, and the one impression I got
the
was,
kitchen.
Yeah, that it was like
Joy liquid and
Yeah.
And
tasty
back in,
choice
it was like
coffee
in 1900, there was nothing, the
Right,
toaster
correct.
and there was nothing.
But that's a
there.
Rebbe. I'm not talking about a Rebbe. I'm talking
Well,
about I'm talking about a guy.
And the giant
I'm
green
talking.
radio
I'm talking
with
about
14
about
bands.
about not a Rebbe. I'm talking about not a Rebbe. I'm talking about a regular Jew. Here's a regular Jew that's like me and you, that doesn't need it, and not that he doesn't have it, doesn't that they couldn't have it. The Rebbe also could have had whatever he wanted, but not that he couldn't. He doesn't have it, but he doesn't need it. Doesn't want it.
That's a
So that's why? Because he has what the Eibishter gives him.
Yeah.
That's it. He has what the Eibishter gives him. He doesn't need to have something that he doesn't need, that doesn't want, that doesn't have to have.
Doesn't want it.
And finish. And that's somebody who trusts the Eibishter. He doesn't need to. Whatever the Eibishter gives him in the world, he's happy. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have it because he doesn't need it. So that's, you think about it, that's an unbelievable, most of us, we don't have that. We want a lot of things, and that brings about that we need to have more money, and we need to work harder, we need to, acquire this wealth to be able to live in a certain kind of level that we want to live in, which is a difficult thing. So therefore, he gets more involved in the world. When you get more involved in the world, then you really move away from the Avodas Hashem that God put you in the world for. So in terms of tranquility of his soul, peace of mind, and lack of worry regarding worldly matters, because he doesn't need it. He can't be compared to this. I'm going to say this word again. I have these. When it comes to words, I have a blockage in my mind, my head. Alchemist? Is that what I do? Alchemist. Okay, you'll have to keep on reminding this. Which is a person who knows how to transform silver into gold and copper and iron into silver through his talents and efforts. If that's possible, I don't know, but it seems like there was some guys who can do it, who can fool people maybe.
Yeah, he's a chemist.
Such a person, a chemist.
Yes, he's a chemist.
So I don't know why. That's why I'm OC. That's why it's my block in my mind. Alchemist. That's why I'm going to alchemist, because a chemist.
That's because you think in Hebrew.
Your mind goes.
You think in Hebrew.
Such
you
a
think in
person.
English.
No, because I don't know English. If such a person, if it were possible, would have little worries regarding his livelihood. So if it's possible, so imagine if you can turn a piece of metal into gold, a machaya, you'll be a multi-billionaire. So
That's it, Moshe.
that's it, Moshe. Just to go to that. Go to that.
Buy all
I'll
this
fix
cheap
The wheels
furniture.
are clicking
Why are you
already.
looking at me? I'm not a chemist.
So, if you can imagine that you can have the job of the century, you can have something that can make you everything is easy attained. You can acquire something that's very cheap and turn it into something that's very expensive. To be able to turn a piece of metal into gold, to taking a stone and turning it into silver. If you can imagine such a thing, that you can have such a thing in your life, B'tachan is even greater than that. That's what he wants there. B'tachan in the Eibishter is even greater than, because ultimately this guy who can turn the metal into gold needs to have metal.
Yeah.
So you gotta have the metal. So now you gotta worry about the metal. Are you gonna have enough metal? Is it gonna be available metal? Is somebody else gonna get the metal? Just like you can turn it into gold, and somebody else can turn it into gold. So these are all the things that he brings. 10 things. He says, pick out something that you think is unbelievable, and then try to bring an analogy to the concept of faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the imu chazak b'bektaina b'lakim, but if a person is strong in his faith in God, yesh alav, then a person who has faith in God is superior b'asara dvarim, in 10 things. So these are the 10 things. Okay, we're going to go through it. So he says, Tchila, the first thing, first to know, Shabal alchemist needs specific materials for his work. He cannot complete it without them. So he needs materials. He needs to have whatever he needs. He needs metal, he needs rock, he needs earth, whatever he needs those materials. And he can't complete it without it. These tools are not accessible at all times and all places, and therefore he's constantly worried if he's going to have all these tools and all these necessities. He needs to make sure that he has it. Where a person who trusts in God has his sustenance granted from any means available in the world. If I trust in the Eibishter, so just like God can give you success out of metal, He can give you success out of something out of plastic. He can give you success out of ice. The Baal Shem Tov, say the story of Baal Shem Tov. First, say the story of the Gemara of the girl of Huna, the daughter who went to buy for her father, told to go buy oil to light the Shabbos candles. The famous story, and she came back, and she right before Shabbos, and then she realized that she bought vinegar instead of oil. So she was very sad. Her father said to her, "Why are you so sad?" He said, "Because now we have no oil to light the candles. So it's impossible to light the candles. We're not able to light the candles for Shabbos. I did it, I did it my job, and I did it wrong." So he said a famous statement. He said, "The one who says oil can light, the same one who said oil can light, vinegar can light also." So vinegar lit. They say the same story to Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov was for bringing one late at night, and the candles went out. It was a winter night, and they didn't have any candles, so it got dark. So he said, the one who said the candle can light, the icicles can light. So they broke off the icicles off the hanging roof, and they lit the candles. So you have, right, the Eibishter Kol Yachol. He doesn't need to have one way to make a parnasa. There's not only one way you can make a parnasa. Right? There's millions of ways. If the Eibishter, the Baal Shem Tov says, if God takes away from you one thing, if somebody in the world takes away from you one thing, then there's another thing. There's another way. There's There's many messengers God can send to the world. They don't have only one way. It's this way or the highway. There's no such kind of concept. There's always a capability of going another way, of doing things in a different way, of finding a different parnasa. So there's always open avenues. You shouldn't be focused. If it's Birchas Hashem, so whatever the Eibishter wants, that's what it will be. Mm-hmm. So there's always other ways. You always can reinvent yourself. You can reinvent yourself. And we see that in the world. So that's number one. So he says, that's what he made. That's why we said, actually in this week's Parsha, regarding the man, that the Jewish people, so why did the Eibishter give 40 years man, min hashamayim? Why did God give the Jewish people man, min hashamayim? 40 years. And then they went into Israel, which they had to work the fields. But why did he give them 40 years? To say that verse. So that he would make known that man does not live on bread alone. You don't live on the work of your hand. You will live on the Mammon HaShamayim. You live on the bread of heaven that God gives you from heaven. So the bread of heaven, the beautiful thing of man was, what the Torah says, what a man tastes like.
It tastes like anything you want.
It tastes like anything you wanted it to taste like. So it was anything you wanted it to taste like. So you had any aspect. What is the point is? The point is that the Eibishter can come down and give you anything in any kind of a way that you can acquire. Well, Jews like to complain, but that's the lesson. The lesson is Mammon HaShamayim. That's why the Tzemach Tzedek, I said before, said that a Jewish parnasa, he has to believe it's Mammon HaShamayim. It's bread of heaven.
Absolutely.
Right? Say a famous story about Ditcher. He once saw a Yid running in the morning. So he said to him, why are you running? So he said, because I'm running to my parnasa. He said, how do you know your parnasa is that way? Maybe it's the other way. So if you're running, you can be very far. Yeah. Right? If you're running this way, maybe it's the other way. And now you ran all this way. Don't run. The Eibishter gives you a parnasa, you have nothing to run to. You only run to shul. Don't run. You never know. You're going to run too fast this way. You're going to be very far from that way. So therefore, a person trusts the Eibishter. He believes that's not from the makes a man don't live bread alone, but whatever comes from the mouth of the Lord does man live. And whatever the Eibishter wants ultimately for you to have in this world, that's what I'm going to have. And if not, it's just going to bring, as he said before, maybe it'll just bring me tzaddis. I'm going to acquire this thing and ultimately it'll bring me headaches. So therefore, for no means of providing sustenance is lacking for God at any time, at any place. God is not lacking the capability to give a person his sustenance in life. Liah kesev, liah zav. The Rebbe said, I have all the money, I have all the food, and azar asaylam kulei. That's the first blessing. That was Moshe Rabbeinu's blessing. His author of the Birchas Hamazon. Azar asaylam kulei. Who's zan? Who gives sustenance to the whole world? The Rebbe gives sustenance to the whole world. So the Rebbe, God, who gives sustenance to the whole world, doesn't have food for you. He gives sustenance to the whole world, doesn't have food for you. He gives parnasa, he gives money to the whole world, he doesn't have money for you. And therefore, he says, we see again, and that's why it's important to learn Tanakh, but we see again, many times, we see stories in Tanakh of so to say, miraculous stories. Unbelievable miraculous stories. Why do we have all these miraculous stories? Stories of miracles. You're expecting a miracle to happen to each and every one of us? Are we expecting to be his example, Elijah the prophet? But the answer is, the miracle is that a person, to Elijah, was an extreme situation. That's why he had to come to a miracle. But in general, when it's not an extreme situation, it's a normal kind of situation, the Eibishter gives everybody. The miracle is not doesn't need to be done in an open way. The Jewish people did not think that the manna of Shemayim was a miracle. That's why they complained. They took it as a natural. No, because they were surrounded by miracles. When you're surrounded by miracle, then a miracle becomes a natural phenomenon. So if you're surrounded by miracles, they took it as that they expected miracles. So they took it for granted, but they didn't take it as a miracle. And that's the point, is that they complained because they didn't take it as a miracle. The truth is, if I believe my parnasa right now is a miracle, they don't have to have some aspect of a miracle to happen to give it to me. Then I wouldn't complain now either. But I don't take it as a miracle. I take it as my koich. I take it as it's my accomplishment. It's my failures and my success, and therefore I'm complaining because I'm saying, why is God not helping me in my failures and my success? Why is God not there for me in my failures and my success? If I say it's not my failures and my success, I'm doing my best. And whatever the Eibishter wants is gonna happen. So it has nothing to do with me. I'm doing my best. Unless I'm not doing my best, I'm sleeping in bed the whole day. So if I'm doing my best, then the Eibishter, then it's up to God to fill in the gaps, to accomplish what He wants to accomplish. So He gives food to everybody. So it's not so even though not that the Eibishter gives food to everybody, He's a miracle too.
Yeah. The economy's a miracle.
Everything's a miracle. Not that the tree gives off fruit is also a miraculous thing, but we take it for granted that trees give off fruit. We're going to plant a tree and it's going to give off fruit. But it's also a miraculous thing. But there's two kinds of miracles. There's a miracle that's an open miracle, a nes l'mayla manateva, that's called a miracle above nature, and there's a miracle within nature. And I mentioned a word before, that there are many messengers that the Eibishter has. We don't realize that the way, and maybe we do realize after the fact, how everything comes into play. How ultimately this small thing and that small thing, the other small thing, things worked out suddenly. And it was the Shluchi Hashem, the Eibishter brought Shluchim, different messengers in a person's life, and brought them to different places, or brought them to different situations that changed the dynamics of the situation. And you don't realize it. It's not that you didn't see any great miracle, you didn't see an unbelievable revelation, but the truth is, it's these small miracles. That's why the Rebbe would always say this last week's Pasha, Adam Dosh Ekev. We don't realize that we step on so many things. We go through life stepping on things that happen in our life. We step on these things. But really, these small little things that we step on are the things that really are important to us. It's the small things. We're waiting for big things to happen. Everybody's waiting for big things to happen.
Lottery.
The lottery. Big things. We're looking for big things, right? The lottery doesn't happen. You're gonna get hit by lightning faster than winning the lottery. So it's not. What are you waiting for? It's not gonna happen. I mean, halavai does happen, but you're gonna get hit by lightning quicker. So why would you? You can buy a lottery ticket, but that's a big thing. That's a nest. That's a nest.
For the miracle.
It's a small things. You can make it keli. You don't need the lottery. You don't need the lottery.
No, you need.
Trust me, you don't need the lottery to be happy. You don't need the lottery to be successful. You don't need the lottery. And the proof is that 99% of people don't win the lottery. So if you needed the lottery, then more people would win the lottery. So less minority win the lottery, and majority of people that win the lottery abuse the lottery.
Exactly.
Yes.
So therefore, you don't need it. It's a great thing. I want to win the lottery too, but it's not gonna cry if I lose the lottery.
No.
It's
But you
not
got
gonna
to be
happen.
in it to win it. So
I'm in it and I never. I'm in it and I never win it. As they say, it's $1 and a dream. So it's good for nice dreams, but it has nothing to do with it's a donation that never comes. So trust me, I've been promised millions of dollars for this lottery. Millions. Everybody is winning the lottery for
So
me.
what would you do?
And
with the money?
it doesn't happen.
What would you do with it though?
Don't worry, I'm not going to waste my time. What I'm going to do with the lottery?
What's the difference?
I challenge me. Let God. I challenge God. Give me the lottery and I'll figure it out. What?
I got to go
Exactly.
figure
Hashem
it. Be
should let you win
donated.
the lottery, and then you'll figure it out.
Now I'll figure it out. Let me win the lottery. I'm not saying every Jew should win the lottery. That's not my point. But to focus on. But we focus on. I'm not talking about the lottery because lottery is a very big thing. We focus on hoping for the big things. If I do this, if I have this, when I move to Israel, if I get a job, if I come, we're always looking for if I was a rich man. If, and we live in the world of ifs, and it's not the world of reality, because the world of reality is a small miracles that happen in every single moment of our day. Yeah, you want to say something?
No, I was just thinking in Tuesday morning class, you were talking about mitzvahs and the follow through that we have to, take it
to the end, right?
And this is
No,
somewhat relative.
but that is because why do we fall
That
apart?
Hashem.
Why do we stop? Why don't we finish the mitzvah?
Yeah.
Why don't we finish the project? Because we start getting disappointed and frustrated. So therefore, if the focus is on not on the materialism, if the focus is on accomplishing it, then we'll accomplish. Because let's say, for no means providing sustenance is lacking for God at any time, any place. As we know the story of Elijah, with ravens and the widow. We know there's a famous story. Elijah was one of the toughest prophets. He made a lot of trouble, angered a lot of people. In his time, there was the king of the Jewish people, Achav and Zerubbabel, two terrible king. They were king and queen. These were two terrible people, killed thousands of people. Jezebel, Zerubbabel, that's the Hebrew. So Jezebel, what's his name? So these were two Bashet, mean Achav was terrible king. And the Eibishter, I don't know why God let him to be a king.
Yeah.
And he was a Jew. Can you imagine? And his wife was a wonderful Yiddish mama. And she was a terrible person. Both of them were terrible.
Yeah.
And Eliyahu, that's why the Eibishter gave them Eliyahu, because Eliyahu was not the easiest guy either. He didn't give in to anybody. But he had to run for his life. Pasha had to run for his life. And the miracle happened that a raven came and fed him. So a miracle happened. A raven came every morning, brought him bread, and brought him meat. How to eat the bread and how to eat the meat? How do you know it was kosher? Because it actually came from the king's. He knew it came from the king's kitchen, from the king's kitchen. So it came, and it fed him for months. Fed him.
Wow.
Pasha fed him. That's how he survived. That's how he survived. So that's a miracle. That's a nest. Ma'alam derech hateva. It's interesting that God sent a raven because he wanted to emphasize the miracle. A raven, the Gemara says, doesn't feed his own kids.
Yeah.
A raven is so mean it doesn't feed his own kids. The Gemara says, but it fed Elijah. It fed Elijah for many months. It fed him as he hid himself in a cave. So these are unbelievable miracles. These are unbelievable miracles that the Eibusha showed to Elijah.
The raven in Noah's Ark, he never came back or something?
No, he didn't want to go out.
Oh.
So they threw him overboard.
Right? So here we have it. Also, the concept has been known. The story of Avadia was also one of the prophets. Avadia was ultimately killed, also by Achav and his wonderful wife. About which it says, I hid 100 men and prophets of the Lord, 50 men in each cave, and provided them with bread and water. And it says, young lion. So this is the next step. The next what he brings on from the Psalms. So it's interesting. It's just interesting. If you read the Malachim, you'll see that the Jewish history was not the. It's interesting that everybody writes history in a very positive way. Usually kings write history. You read Malachim, you see, you're going to realize we've come a long way. We've come a long way, baby. We've come a long way. How whatever Jews are today, trust me, go look and read the Malachim. You're gonna get a lesson in history of the Jewish people. It hasn't been such a rosy, easy ride. And there was terrible times, and the kings were terrible times, and they were machtes, and these were not simple people. This Achav was a great person. He was a great. He fought against God. It was a person that was, stam an evil person. This was an evil person with a mission. This was an evil person with that new scholarly person, scholarly in Jewish law. Menashe was a Hamid. Menashe was a king. One of the kings of was Chechtes Kol Yisrael. Menashe. I don't want to talk about Menashe because the Gemara says there was once a Tana who spoke against Menashe and he got in trouble. So Menashe was a king who put an idol in the Beis Hamikdash. So you can imagine. Was a king who put an idol in the Beis Hamikdash, but the Eibishter, for whatever reason, kept him as a king, and wanted him as a king. That was a famous. His father was Yecheskel. Yecheskel was supposed to be Mashiach, and when he didn't go, Yecheskel didn't want to get married because he knew in prophecy that he was going to have terrible children. So the Navi came to him and told him, I know you're going to have terrible children, but that's not your job. Don't mix into the world. Don't mix into the job of God. Don't mix into God's business. Okay? You do what you're supposed to do. and the Eibush will do what he wants to do. And if he should get married, and then he got married, and then he was walking. He had his son Menashe on his shoulder, and Menashe, whatever, picked up his yarmulke or whatever. He had a bald. He was a baldy. He was a bald head, Kojak. And he said, you know, he said my father's head would be a good place to put an idol. It's smooth, very smooth. It would be a good place to put a getchka. So he threw him off his shoulder. He wanted to kill him.
Yeah.
Didn't work. Ultimate Menashe came a king. Hemetzel Hechol. He was machtas harabim. He made the Jewish people sin, and ultimately did tshuva. Right? Did tshuva.
Wow, I'd like to learn this.
He did
stuff.
tshuva.
I never
He
learned
did,
that.
He did tshuva. The Gemara says that when he did tshuva, the malachim wanted to block his tshuva from coming to heaven. He said, "How can we accept Menashe's tshuva?" And it says that the Eibush should drill a hole underneath the seat to let Menashe his tshuva to come up to heaven. So this Tana was speaking about Menashe in his space of Medrash, how terrible he is. So Menashe came to him in a cholam. King Menashe came to him in a dream, and he told him, "You're talking about me in against me." He said, "If you would have been there, you would worship. You would have done worse than me. So don't talk against me." The next day he came to the base Medrash. He reversed his conversation. What's up, shot? God runs the world. The Eibush wanted, for whatever reason, there should be a Menashe, there should be an Achav, and there should be all these situations that would challenge Am Yisrael and bring them to certain situations in life.
Free choice.
And bring them to no, it's part of history. As we learned, it's all part of history. It's all part of the journey, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's all part of the journey of Am Yisrael. You couldn't live without it, and the proof is that it's part of Tanakh. We don't try to hide it. We don't try to push it under the rug. It's in the Tanakh. You can learn it. You can see it, and you'll see the history of Am Yisrael: the good, the bad, and the not the bad, and the ugly. So this are the stories. These are the stories. Am Yisrael trusts in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good days, the bad days, the successful days, the unsuccessful days, the Achavs, the Menashes, and the Cheskiyos, and the Moshe Rabbeinus. They're all part of the Jewish nation. The story of the Jewish nation is Moshe Rabbeinu and the Achav. They're all part of history of our history. Why? Because they're all part of what the Eibush wanted, whatever God wanted ultimately in the history of the Jewish nation. That's what He wanted, and that's what we've come a long way, so to say. So therefore, if a person, that's why he continues. He says, gives an example from Psalms 34. A young lion suffers want and are hungry. Some people think that they're like a lion. Some people think that's when we think that we're a lion. We're a lion.
This has nothing to do with what you're reading, right?
Right.
I'm not reading what I'm reading. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought I'm reading the same thing. Where are we?
Well, whatever you're doing, I like it.
Yeah, it's good.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We're not reading the same book.
You're all having one.
I'm reading the introduction.
Am I not reading the introduction? What am I reading?
It's interesting anyway, right?
Yeah.
Don't worry about
It's
it.
okay, Rabbi.
No, why'd you tell me that, young ladies?
We didn't know either.
He hasn't come down from the schnapps yesterday.
I haven't come down a long time ago.
I'm teasing you.
Let's keep going.
Hey, hey.
You know, we like what you're saying.
And this
Hashem
is
directing you
additional
to
reading.
teach us this
That's
today.
right.
We'll call it additional reading.
I don't get it. What did I print over here?
I would.
I don't know, but I hope it's not personal.
I think I need to print this book. It's better. Hello, can you hear? I'm going to figure this out. I don't know what's going on over here.
Don't figure it out.
Yeah,
It
you'll
is. Don't figure it out. It's good this way.
Let's do
I like
We
this
have
guy.
additional.
I like this one.
Okay, I will.
Because
We'll get it straightened out
We're
next
going
week.
on the 10th.
Okay,
anyway, Rabbi.
I don't know. But is it not the same thing? That is the book.
I have to put it home.
It is an introduction. I'm still in the introduction. Okay, I'm drunk. Okay.
Yeah, but you
And that is shrunk as I was
See, that
listening.
Hashem has everything in the right order, so you're doing the right thing.
Wow. We need something
Here
else.
it is. I see it on page 9. The young lions suffer and want
Yeah.
It
hungry.
doesn't.
Page
Wow,
9,
so I'm
page
reading-
9 second.
I'm reading something else. He cuts out a lot of
But it's
the.
different. It's different.
He cuts out a lot of the
Yeah,
stuff.
the fish and the water.
Okay, so we're gonna go on. We're gonna go with this. Okay,
I got enough of my mission.
I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna go with this thing. Okay. Okay. Wow, I can't believe that. That's unbelievable.
It's okay.
You're
It was
bad.
meant to be, Rabbi, that we
Give
need to
a
hear
shit.
it today.
It's perfect this way.
That's what
We have
needed
additional to
today.
read. This is our homework.
Okay, so let's go on. That's late already. Vasheni. Okay, V'yema, as it says, seek the Lord to lack any good. So there are no hungry. So a lion, think lions can go hungry. It's a difference. The Gemara says we have a difference between a fish. Fish, that's why we compare ourselves to the fish. Because fish have all they need. The Eibusha gives them all they need, but they're very meek, very easy, animal that people can catch. Anybody can catch. But the Eibusha gives them all they need. But a lion has to work hard. Even though he's the lion, he has to work hard, or the lioness has to work hard for their food.
The lioness is the hunter.
They're the hunters. They have to work hard. They work too hard. So here, the Geis Knak is the king of the animals, and they have right. But irrelevant. They have to work hard for the food. While most animals, small little animals, they wish to give them all their needs.
Penguin sits on the.
So what does it show? Just because you're a big lion doesn't mean that you're going to get your sustenance. That God's going to sustain because you think you're a big person. You think you deserve to all this. God is obligated, or you're obligated to get this. No. If you're tak b'Hashem, you'll be like a fish. You'll be like a small animal, a simple animal. And the Eibusha gives everything they need. They don't have to go. They don't have to work so hard for the necessities, for the things that they need. And it precedes, the verse says, "Fear the Lord, the Holy One, for He who lacks, for there's no lack for those who fear Him." So that's the first thing. Number one, materialism, worries. So a chemist worries how to attain material for his work. God finds, if you trust in God, God finds your way. Number two, Asheni, the second one. Kibalach Kimia, the second manner, a person who has bitachon is superior to even a guy who is alchemist. The alchemist needs to perform certain actions and procedures in order to produce the silver or gold, and cannot reach his gold without them. And additionally, it's impossible that the fumes and the smoke and inhales will cause him to die, as a result of working constantly and spreading a long amounts of time, toiling with them day and night. So that's harm. Person, that's what the Eibusha says. Pray, human beings, they work so hard for their money. They work so hard. And then they use their own money because they work so hard on their health. Because all their health, all their work that they worked hard on the money now has to be used not to enjoy themselves, but now have to pay for the doctor bills. Because they work so hard.
It's true.
Maybe if you don't work so hard, you'll have a little less money, but you'll enjoy the money. Because you won't take all that money and use the doctor bills. So that's what it is. So you're right, the alchemist is great. Go out and work. you can all your work can have an opposite effect.
You can work yourself to death.
The words of your death.
That's right.
Right. Well, you have even people that are very wealthy. They'll tell you they didn't have time for their family. They had no time for their family. They were too busy to acquire this wealth. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of time away from other things. So a person who trusts in the Eibishter, where does harm come to you? You'll be partially healthier.
Some people are
healthier
with their wealth. They never get married and have children.
Correct. So conversely, a person who relies on God is secure from any mishaps, and present, and also feels secure and no bad will happen to him in the future. This is because he believes that anything that happens to him is from God. So even if something bad happens to him,
From God.
so they believe in the Eibishter. It's not that he got hurt because of some material aspect. God brought him this misfortune.
But sometimes that misfortune that God gives you is actually
A sickness.
it's
Correct.
It's the miracle that you need.
But also it can be a sickness. It can be a person go through sickness, or a person go through hardships in life. We all do, different ways. We go through hardships in life. But if we believe the Eibishter gave it to us, not that I brought it on upon myself. That's the difference. If I go bring hardships upon myself, then what do you want from the Eibishter? You brought hardships upon yourself. You made yourself hard. So if you want to make yourself hard in life, so you're entitled to make yourself hard in life. That's free choice. But if the Eibishter gave me the hardships, then I trust in the Eibishter. There must be a reason why the Eibishter gave me hardships. Why God gave me hardships? Why would God want to give me hardships in life?
Everything's for the good.
I hope so. I don't know what it is for. As we'll soon see. Yeah, maybe it's for the good. He's gonna bring that, the Gamzel table. But it's a difficult thing to be able to do that. But again, I always say the expression you have where to put the blame on. If I blame myself, so what do you want? I'm just a lousy. I'm a layutzlachnik. I'm a shlemazel. Right? Or you're the wrong place at the wrong time. That's what the world says. You're in the wrong place at the wrong time. You know?
No.
What did I tell you? You're in the wrong place at the wrong time. A Jew doesn't believe that. A Jew doesn't believe that. A Jew is never in the wrong place. He's never in the wrong time. A Jew is never in the wrong place, never in the wrong time. So everything is b'dei shamayim. Call b'dei shamayim. It's not in the wrong place, not just a lottery. Oh, I was chosen that this bad thing should happen to me. No, this is min hashamayim, that this negative thing, this stomachache, should happen to me. This loss that I lost something, should happen to me. Why? I have to figure that out.
When I got hit with the car, Hashem needed to do that because I needed some money.
Baruch Hashem.
No, really.
That lawyer was good.
So you know when I get hit by a car, Hashem gives me what I need, so I could.
That's like the
take
joke, the guy. The
someone
joke.
else, so I could do what I needed.
The guy who had a fire in his business.
Body you paid forward.
Right, the guy who had a fire in his business met the guy who had a flood in his business. He said, I know how I had a fire, but how'd you have a flood in your business, right? How'd you make a flood? I know how the Eibishter made a fire in my business, but how did the Eibishter make a flood in your business? Like, because everything's good ultimately, insurance. As long as you have insurance, everything is good. Everything is good.
It's good.
Therefore, it causes joy and happiness. His sustenance will come to him in a restful, calm, and peaceful manner.
True.
Amen. Yeah.
And this is what the verse says. It causes me to lie down in green pastures. Everybody knows this. They do I walk through a valley of death. God will cause me to lie in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. So you have the two aspects. There I walk through the valley of death. The Eibishter caused me to lie down in green pastures. Right? Even though I go through tzaddis, ultimately there's something good in it.
Rabbi, isn't it true that Hashem will never give us anything that we can't handle? That Hashem gives us a challenge.
I said yesterday, I tell you about Meitiv, the blessing of we make a blessing, grace after miracles. I'll tell you about Meitiv. You have to think about it. If you think about it, you have to, I said it. But I'll tell you about Meitiv, was that the Ruge Beisa, the Beita, the Eibishter gave those that were murdered in Beita to be buried. And we make a whole blessing. And the truth is, this Ateva Meitiv, I looked at more later after I said about it, but you look at Ateva Meitiv is a blessing that we give not only for Ruge Beita.
What?
Beita.
Talk English, I don't understand
It's
you.
a city in Israel.
Whatever the time of the Romans, the time of the Romans, they destroyed the city of Beitar.
Even,
That there were close to 1 million Jews were murdered in Beitar. But story about Kochva, and the city of Beitar was destroyed, and they didn't allow the Jews to be buried for many months, and some say many years, and they were ultimately buried. And the sage of Yavne made a whole blessing for this thing, that they were buried, that they were given the schus to be buried. Right? They were murdered. Why didn't the Eibishter stop them from being murdered? So we bless the Eibishter that they were buried, right? And we make a whole brach on it, right? Mm-hmm. Because a Yid has to always find the bright side of things.
And wasn't there a miracle also that
they didn't compose, right? That's why toiv ha'meitiv. That's why it's a double expression. Toiv, that they didn't compose, but the better blessing would be that they weren't killed.
Yeah.
Right. So that would have been what would be the blessing if they would have been killed?
But that was our.
So that was not the plan. The Eibishter that runs the world. So the Eibishter they were not saved. So it's not a good ending of the story, but nevertheless there is a good ending. Right? There's always a good ending. There's always something positive in anything that happens. And that's the blessing. So the Chacham made a blessing that we should be able to be able to see the silver lining in every situation that happens to us, and make a blessing, and make a bracha. Why? Because if that's nature, the Romans are stronger than the Jews, you went to revolt against them, and they killed you. Why'd you revolt? You can blame Bar Kochva, that he went and revolted and put 1 million Jews in jeopardy, and ultimately they were killed. So why'd you do that? Why'd you make? You can blame it on Rabbi Akiva, who made Bar Kochva into something that he wasn't. No, you have to. That's part of history. Kobdei Shemayim. That's part of what Eibishter wants. What a Jew has to look is to make a bracha on the positive. On the positive of that, even though the positive is minute in comparison to the negative. They were murdered.
What we see is negative.
Right. Mm-hmm. So when you have bitachon, if I have bitachon, then I have to be capable to see the positive. And that's what we saw. Actually, we had a merit to have in our generation, the Rebbe who showed that openly. Nothing that he saw was negative, even in the most negative situations of life. I mean, we just showed, I don't know if you were here, but Tisha B'Av by night, we showed this video, a beautiful video, a powerful video of JLI, I think, they put together this video.
Yeah, it was for them.
And Rebbe, what the Rebbe says, one of the stories, or the 5 stories, I think, one of the stories was what happened in Kfar Chabad. And the Rebbe answered them in 5 words. He said, from your building you'll find a chama. From your building you'll find a chama. Through your building, through your going out and build more, you'll find nechama, consolation. Consolation. You'll find the concept of consolation. So why? Because that's the way. If you trust in the Eibishter, this is what the Eibishter wanted. And therefore, the Eibishter wants you to build on it. He doesn't want you to chas shalom, to digress on it, but become negative on it. But it's not easy. That takes betachon. That takes tachon in the Eibishter. That the Eibishter is good. So that's why. So a person, even if there's harm, he's safe from harm. That's why he's saying can be harmed through his labor. A person has betachon is safe from any harm. Even if he's harmed, he's safe from his harm. He's safe. Mm-hmm. Even if he's harmed, he's safe. Because he understands that the harm that the Eibishter gave him is the Eibishter gave him the harm. So God gave him the harm. This is the reason, not to stop a harm for the sake of hurting a person. No, he's safe in that harm. That's what we say. Though I walk through the valley of death, I fear no evil. It sounds like a contradiction. Yes. Though I walk through the valley of death, I fear evil. Though I walk through Disneyland, I fear no evil. But though I walk through the valley of death, I fear no evil. It doesn't make sense. Though I walk through the valley of death, I fear no evil. But that's what you have. That's when you have B'tachon Eibishter. You can walk through the valley of death, and at the same moment, you fear no evil.
Right.
Because the Eibishter is with you. So if I feel the Eibishter is with me, then I feel no evil. Then there's no concept of evil. Then you can come to Gamzu L'Teva.
Right.
Then you come to the story of Nachum Ish Gamzu, who actually showed that there's no evil. That's Nachum Ish Gamzu showed there's no evil, because the story of Nachum Ish Gamzu, which happened, all the diamonds were stolen from him, and he transformed the diamonds, and he gave the Caesar, he gave them earth. Right, gave him sand. That openly showed that Gamzu, because the Caesar doesn't eat your diamonds. They were trying to appease the Caesar with diamonds, but the Caesar has more diamonds than your case of diamonds. So what does he eat your diamonds? But that the diamonds turn into earth, and the Caesar needs the earth more than the diamonds. That is Gamzu L'Teva. That is where the Eibishter shows that what the Caesar needed was more than your diamonds. Yeah. He needed the earth, and to him the earth was more valuable than the diamonds at that moment. That's Gamzu L'Teva. To be able to see the negative is a positive. That's an unbelievable level. That's a level of tzaddik.
He said in battle.
But he needed the earth to fight his war. Correct. So but that's unbelievable. To take diamonds and to transform it and to give earth. Not they didn't transform it, they gave earth. And the earth should be more valuable to the Caesar at that time than diamonds. That is Gamzu L'Teva. That's not that okay, you know what? He didn't get angry. Okay, whatever. He said, okay, God put a miracle that he said, okay, I forgive you. It was stolen. No. The earth was what he needed. The earth was what he needed. He didn't need your diamonds. He needed the earth, so you should have thanked the Ganef. That's thanking the Ganef, right? Thank you for putting in earth. Because if you wouldn't have put in earth, we wouldn't have been saved even in a good time. So you put in earth, and that's what saved us. The earth saved us. That's when you have to ultimately thank the negative. You have to thank the negative. Yeah. One day you'll thank the negative. Imagine if you built to thank the negative.
You take a negative,
right?
And you turn it into
No, that's not
about.
No, you have to thank. No, the negative is a negative. My point is, it's a negative. But the negative, I'm going to thank the negative, because the Eibishter sometimes give you the negative that you would never have the positive without the negative, and the negative is greater than the positive. That's when you believe in Hashem. What's so funny?
This should be
I said that's the first marriage.
This should be in the New York Times coursework puzzle.
When you get to the second marriage, you thank the first marriage, ending it.
And a negative to the positive. Okay. There's a song like that. Well, I haven't got to
but
that.
we Chabad, we were in a shopping center there for 25 years.
Yeah.
And ultimately they threw us out. Right. They told us to leave.
And that was
right? That was.
And I never.
So after I finished building the building, I wrote to the owner there. I wrote him a thank you letter. Because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here.
And no one's there still.
So you have to Gamzu L'Teva that negative is a positive.
Absolutely.
But it took 4 years.
But you didn't see it immediately.
No, it took many years to ultimately see it. Okay, guys, we'll finish here. We should all have B'tachon. We'll continue next week. And I'll figure out with these papers and then we'll change it. I apologize.